And welcome to a Grunts Perspective, a non-scripted, free-flow podcast addressing a range of topics from a Grunts perspective. A Grunts perspective is not limited to those who have served, but a perspective of those who are knee-deep in grunt-like work. The blue-collar, the worker bee, the ones in the trenches of everyday existence, trying to make sense of it all. This is episode 3, entitled Go Touch Grass. How to ground yourself, how to reset the body and soul, make that connection back with nature.
We're literally outside.
Yeah, exactly.
We're touching grass.
Yeah, we literally
What's
literally
left
are.
of it anyway?
Yes. I'm your resident Grunt Armistad to my right, but it's your left on TV. Thank you for their great reversal society. Our resident blue collar Gravy. And then to my other side here is our tech guy, our voice of reason, the guy who has more wisdom.
The guy who owns the equipment.
The guy who owns the equipment.
Keeps us on track.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Boy, and keeps us on track so we don't ramble. What is the purpose of grounding? Like, what is grounding in definition, but also to you? I mean, like, we live in a metropolis, large city. We work across the entire spectrum, from blue collar to white collar to
Office,
air conditioned, climate controlled, and all that. But we're surrounded by technology. I mean, we're surrounded by, social media, and we're constantly looking at things, and it's distracting us from partially current events, but that's by social design. That's another topic, I guess.
Yep.
But like, how does it affect you? Like, you're 9 to 5. I'll just assume.
Yes.
Great.
8 to 4.
8 to 4. Wow, it's the new 9 to 5. And a guy that works in tech and all that. Like, how do you find yourself in your environment?
So working downtown Vancouver, it's a recent thing for me, but I've been working in an office since I was 21. I'm the opposite of you guys, not being outdoors. I've been in indoor environment and office environment all this time. And it is hard to ground yourself at work because you're filled with, you're filled with people that are busy. You're surrounded with people that keeps you busy. You're surrounded by, it's like the silence is great at work when it comes to not having to worry about what's out the outside, but it's too quiet and you don't enjoy the fresh air. It's artificial air from the air conditioning, of course. It's the hum. But I work in IT, so it's more of the lines of, like, if I work at a computer or a server room, the only thing you'll probably hear is either your coworkers typing or the conference call.
And are you cubicled or open space?
Cubicle.
Ish.
I guess cubicle can also hear other people. Yeah. And working in IT, I also hear the hums of, if I'm at the server room, I'll hear the server rooms. It's quite a different thing from being outdoor. I'm not used to being, working outside, working in an environment where everything around you is hazardous. For me, it's like, it's very safe, right? So having that in mind, it's hard to keep myself sort of like grounded in a way that is like, I just look outside and be like, oh, man, I wish I was outside. And then for you guys, it's probably the other way around.
And you're not a smoker, so you don't even take a 5-minute.
I don't even take my 5-minute smoke or break or whatever. I'll go outside and go for a walk, like on my lunch break or whatever. But other than that, like, the only thing I see in front of my window is another building. And then, of course, another person in another world doing the same thing, working in an office, right? Yeah, so it's.
But in that moment, you can also look at them and laugh at them because they're stuck in the cubicle, and you're like, get that little sense of freedom at the same time.
A bit, yeah. I mean, I'll look at them, and they have their own set of issues, set of problems, and then they're just doing their work, and then over here, I'm doing my own set of things, right? It's like every window that I see from across the street is a window to a different world of what they're doing and such.
It is neat in a way too.
It's neat, but at the same time, it's like. Yeah. Nothing too exciting in the office, maybe there's some sort of like you hear someone from somewhere did this and then that's like, ooh, that's spicy. Like, it's not big.
Do you have or have had the movie moments? I worked in an office when I was like 20, 21, and there were certain points, like when I traveled and took the SkyTrain and coming out like Granville.
Yeah.
Coming out Granville and seeing like the city around you, the movie moment of
when I first worked there, I guess my moment of like, wow, I made it to the big downtown thing. Yeah. after a year, it's that's worn off. It's
And
like,
then when did
great.
it switch to the iRobot? We're just drones. We're all just coming in, humming along, doing our.
I feel like Vancouver's not like that.
No?
It's very interesting downtown working in there in a way, because I work at Burrard, and sometimes the downtown east side kind of spills over that way sometimes, and it's kind of interesting to see the different walks of life in there. Working the financial district, also right beside Cole Harbor, you also get to see the tourist that comes out, and it's a mix of everything. I wouldn't say it's boring per se.
No.
It's just when I'm in the office, it's just the same thing almost over and over again. I mean, every month it's the same thing over and over again, realistically. But in a way, if I step outside and just like grab some fresh air, there's always something different.
But you see those same people, even the homeless have their routine, and which corners they bag, which times they're there, which times they're selling that paper. Yeah,
it's quite a thing to just change your work environment, because I've worked at TELUS for so long that my environment hasn't changed in like 8 years in one position, and then having to move to this job now where I'm a system administrator dealing with computer stuff, and then having to be in a different environment overall, like not just work, like company, like a different environment role, and as well as location overall. It's just amazing. Like that kept me going in my head, going, man, I'm going to be stuck at TELUS as a lifer, but all of a sudden changing just environment alone, right?
Yeah.
I guess that's the topic right now, is just like, just changing, you're grounding yourself.
TELUS is old.
Yeah.
Your facilities aren't the freshest buildings. So when you changed company, did you move into something more modern style?
I would say so.
Do you think that even helped too? Just the freshness of the building?
You know what they say, the grass is greener on the other side when you
of course.
change everything? Yeah, I would say so. It's kind of worn off a little bit, but I mean, it's still better than what it was before. You know? Felt like I was stuck, but I wasn't.
And did you, which TELUS location were you at?
Actually, I was at the BC Hydro location, because I was subcontracted by BC Hydro under TELUS to
Off
basically.
Wellington?
No, Edmonds.
Okay.
Yeah, so that old building.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not old per se. It's modern. But I mean, changing just the general role environment I was at.
And now you're downtown.
Yeah.
And that's
it's different.
The buzz.
Yeah, different, but there's sort of like the same sort of annoyance when you work in an office. It's just mundane, boring sometimes. Some days can't wait to get out of there by 3:30 or 4.
And you're taken further and further away from like the green space, so to speak.
So then I was about to ask, when you step outside for your walk, do you feel a difference between Edmonds and downtown?
Yeah.
Just in
far
the air?
noisier.
Yeah.
Far noisier. A lot more scenery downtown, I can tell you.
True.
That. Yeah. But far more noisier where I was at before. It was quieter where I was before, but too quiet to a point where it's like, man, that's just like boring. Over the downtown location, I was like, there's a lot more to do, a lot more places to see.
You got those little tiny half-block parks that's sitting around where you can go touch grass.
So I make it a point at lunch to like, I gotta walk. Like I can't just sit in the office. So I gotta walk. I gotta do something. I gotta figure out, hey, there's like a new food place here or something. Gotta try it out. That's the advantage of working downtown.
I miss that.
Yeah.
I miss that. And having, like, Wednesdays I would always go to Meat and Bread.
Yeah.
My favorite place downtown. Anytime I'm close, I have to stop. That's my touch grass for food, because I don't stop when I'm working.
Yeah.
But when I'm near Meat and Bread, I have to get it. But having that little routine when I was downtown. Wednesday was definitely, we did waffles in the morning, Meat and Bread for lunch. I miss those little routines. Now that I'm back to the blue collar life, it's like, there's moments where I'm like, man, I miss my office. I miss knowing where the bathroom is. Like little things, you're like.
I take that for granted, honestly.
Yeah.
Even when they started password locking our washrooms, because
people like me would jump in there.
I was like so mad. I'm like, why do we have to do this? Yeah. So that's my work situation and deal, because I just recently moved to this position, so I'm kind of fresh out of the sort of like changing in the environment or like feeling that I've grounded myself to something else, which is great. It feels better than what it was before. That's basically that's why I wanted to jump in.
So how do you get yourself out of that city mode? What is your natural grounding?
So I would say Panthers because, you know, you see this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fortunate to be able to, you know, like have my container here, all my airsoft stuff. I mean, I used to use airsoft as an excuse to go out and touch grass.
Right.
That's what I use it for. I mean, I still do, but I hardly play airsoft. But I just, you know, either run this or just do some like photography out there. Right. That's what I love to do. It's a passion of mine, and then it turns into like videography, and then you know what we're doing here, right?
Right.
So doing that stuff really just breaks the monotony of life. Whatever, you know, what you say is just break the chain of, you know, just working Monday to Friday, and then doing something on a weekend that's different. So the 2 days does help recharge someone. That's why I always say to kids, you know, you gotta like. Well, not kids, but like young adults that are just starting to work. I'd be like, yeah, you could work as much as you want, but it really doesn't make a difference. You're just making money. It really doesn't make a difference in whatever you're doing. I mean, unless it's a career job that you're trying to aim for, right? But other than that, you got to do something else, like something outside of work, something that is not work. Right?
Yeah, the whole work-life balance, and then finding time to go outside and any activities like that.
Yeah.
How often do you find yourself like getting away either here or other places as well?
So other than Panther, which has been my like base of like whatever I want to do, like I find it like relaxing to be here. I'll go out and do things like when I was in my early 30s, I was doing stuff like camping. I was doing stuff like hiking. It's great. Like Vancouver is just, you're so close to a lot of hiking trails outside of the city.
Yeah.
So I guess we're fortunate like to be out here and enjoying the environment that we're at, and we get a true, you know, 4 season climate, and just going out there hiking, going out there camping, it's great because you find yourself when you're away from all the, and again, I'm coming from the IT perspective and as well as the office perspective, is if you have that same hum for 5 days, that AC hum, or that computer hum, or that electrical 60 hertz frequency hum that you can hear all the time, you step away from that and go outside in nature, and you hear nothing but like birds chirping, wind, and leaves just moving around. Just like what the reason why I wanted you guys to come out here and enjoy the podcast, you know, outside, is because I'm like, man, changing the environment will probably change how we feel about talking about this.
Yeah.
And that's just a real changer when it comes to just like, again, breaking the cycle of your everyday work. And then those 1 to 2 days on the weekend, it feels awesome to just recharge and take a break from it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But on the other side of the spectrum, you have you.
I don't have time for it.
Exactly. And you were outside. What percentage of your day?
I mean, does it count if I'm in the truck driving?
No.
Then probably 25%.
Yeah.
I mean, my AC's going out in my truck, so it's not very helpful. But,
No.
But even comparatively, when I had an office, why I drive is because I had office jobs, and when I was behind the wheel, I used to do office sales. So then when I moved and became like traveling rep, just driving, oh my goodness. And that's why I just ended up pursuing driving life, is because driving and cruising, I rarely have the moments now where I'm like, oh, right, this is why I do this job. But when they pop up, it's like, right, you know what? Windows down, it's a beautiful day like this, wind's in my hair. It's an amazing feeling. So there's, I do have that outside time when I am. Now, the towing process can be stressful enough that I don't appreciate those moments as much as, like I say, I'm jealous that you know where the bathroom is. You're like, dude, you get a window down and fresh air cruising all day? That's pretty great. So there's always the perspective side of it.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I'm like, yeah, you're driving around, you have the freedom of the open road, but you still have a destination.
Yeah.
You can enjoy that aspect, but at the same time, it's stressful because almost the majority of the time, you have something hooked to the back of you that you're responsible for.
Yeah.
And you always have that, oh man, I got to be responsible and watch and be careful. Like, do you have that lingering over you while you're trying to enjoy the drive, or?
Depends on the vehicle.
Okay.
I mean, if I'm towing my own car, right, it's less of whoop-de-doo. Like
Yeah.
towing a Honda Civic's a lot different than towing a 1965 .5 Mustang that's collector edition, and there's 5 in Canada. You're sweating bullets the whole time.
Yeah.
Especially when they're like, hey, take this downtown. Now I got to drive through downtown traffic, and there's $500,000 behind my truck.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
And then everything else around you at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I mean, like, you're going from your environment or the zone that you're working in, and then you're going right back into the city, and that makes your job a lot more stressful.
Yeah, it's the other people. If I could just drive and there was no one on the road, right, and it was all professional drivers, it would be amazing. You civvies, screw us, or as we call you, four-wheelers.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's still, at the same time, when I tow that awesome car that stresses me out, getting the picture of it, knowing I touched that. When I got to tow a brand new Aston Martin DB11, and I was the first person to sit in that car since it left the factory, that was pretty cool.
Nice.
I had to take it to basically the Burrard Street Bridge across from the old Molson Brewery. Yeah, that was a stressful drive. That was a very stressful drive at rush hour with...
So that's your excitement then at work?
Yeah, but also, as you would understand, stress is excitement once it's done. Once you're over that hump, it's, oh hell yeah.
How much would those cars cost then?
DB11's like $250 starting. Base model, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's as much as the servers I deal with.
And then my truck's about $250. So I'm driving down the road with $500,000.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then some idiot in their $30,000 Kia decides, I want this lane. Good luck, everybody.
I could see where we can compare and contrast with our work. Yeah.
Yeah.
I deal with servers, which basically deals with the entire business end of things, installing it, setting it up, or even just managing it.
I used to sell them.
Yeah.
So
And then you're dealing with vehicles, which people pay for. Yeah.
and they're their babies.
Yeah.
And when someone builds a business and puts it on your server, it's their baby.
No,
And you're dealing with that, and that server goes out, and you're praying that your backup's working. And
Yep.
yeah, when you're dealing with someone else's stuff, that's a huge process.
That's also crazy because you're dealing with information technology. You're dealing with, actual tangible goods and people's cars and vehicles and all that. And then to hear the contrast that they're both costing the same just is mind-boggling to me because the industry that I'm in now.
Which we're linked with.
Yeah, exactly. In building trades and building supplies and all that. And it's just mind-boggling because in the grand scheme of things, like my products can be broken down and be, not costly at all, but all combined together and for delivery and everything. But it's the cost
lumber's
leading up to it.
crazy
Oh,
nowadays.
yeah,
That boggles
it's
my
horrible.
mind.
The fact that 3-4 lifts of lumber is equivalent to a luxury car.
Yeah.
Nowadays is just mind-boggling to me.
I manage all that information. I have no idea how much it costs.
Oh, it's insane. It's insane.
Same with your delivery trucks.
Yes.
I mean, that truck alone's, again, 250, 300,000.
300,000 starting.
Holland,
Starting.
what, 100, 150,000 sometimes?
Yeah.
They're usually contracted out, so we don't even know
don't
how
even
much they
know.
actually
No,
cost.
there's a lot of OOs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
A
But-
lot. So many. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
But then here's the other thing is that growing up, where did you grow up originally?
I grew up in the Philippines for 10 years. I was there. And then immigrated when I was 10. So my parents came over here when I was 10. We all immigrated here. And then I basically just grew up the Canadian lifestyle at that point because I wasn't really raised in the Philippines as much in Manila. I was more raised here a lot. And then I absorbed a lot of the culture. I've integrated myself in here pretty well. And then from there worked from here and haven't moved ever since. So.
Until where you are now. But
Yeah.
here's the thing, like environment growing up, like the first 10 years of your life, what type of environment was it? Was it more urban?
It was also urban. I was in Metro Manila as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I was living. I would say it was more like a suburb type.
Yeah.
It is very crowded now where I used to live in. Yeah.
More Coquitlam than Vancouver kind of thing?
Yeah. It was almost like Coquitlam but smaller.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
But where I live now, it's basically the same thing. That
So
we have,
not
but
a
bigger.
huge difference.
Not a huge difference. So
Okay.
I would say suburban life at that point.
Right. But at the same time, like growing up in your environment until now, you kind of had your foot already in both worlds.
Yes.
City life, suburban,
Yeah.
and not quite the wilderness, so to speak, but definitely the outside lifestyle.
So I actually did Scouts Canada when I was Boy Scouts they call it back in the days. Back when I was 10 and all the way up to 14 or 13. And that got me in love with just the greater outdoors here. Because having being in Scouts in Manila, my parents just signed me up for Scouts here, which is great because I got to enjoy what the Canadian wilderness is all about. Having moved to a suburb area, it wasn't really outdoorsy. But having a group to take care of you and basically send you out on like my first camp was basically a winter camp experience.
Oh, lovely.
Wow. So they dove me in. My parents didn't even know what a toque was because they're like, we have
it's a
everything
beanie, by the way.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
I have no idea.
So my parents were doing the checklist, and there was one thing they're missing, and then they had to ask Scouter Willis about it, and then they're like, "Was it Willis?" I don't remember, but they had to ask like, "What's this last one?" They're just embarrassed to ask. They're like, "Oh, like a beanie or a winter
Knitted,
hat," and they're like this, and they're like, "Yes, that one." So
Is that French?
Toque? I have no idea. I think
it's
it's French. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a Q in it. French.
Yeah, that was our first introduction to what the hell a toque was. But yeah, that was my first experience, is winter camping, and then we had to find this. It was the Mount Seymour Mount Seymour cabin that the Scouts owned. So that's great. I also used that for my Venture Scouts later when I managed the Venture Scout company in Coquitlam. And just experiencing what a cabin is, having to sleep in a cabin, and then afterwards learning how to build a Quincy. I like how to actually build underneath the snow and sleep in it.
I was going to say, in Air Cadets, they didn't give us no cabins. It was, go build something.
Nice.
Good luck.
Well, the Scouts owned a bunch of cabins, so yeah.
Oh, okay. Makes sense.
Yeah, so I learned that when I was younger, and then I thrived for that when I was like when I started like doing a regular job. I kind of dropped out of Scouts at around 14. At that point, I was kind of doing my own thing. I was into computers a lot. And then once I turned like 22, 23, after working an office job for so long, I'm like, man, I want to try going outdoors again. And then a friend of mine, she was also working in a office job as well. And then she's also finding the monotony of like working in an office and having just stayed there and then constantly doing the same thing almost over and over again. We're like, man, do you want to go camping or hiking somewhere? So we started hiking, and then we started hiking. We started camping, and then afterwards we started to do more outdoor activities because we realized that Vancouver is so located, so close to just the wilderness.
That's why it's so damn expensive.
Yeah, that's why it's so expensive out here, and that was my experience with that, and it just continued on from there. Just that makes me it gives me that sort of drive to basically go back to work for 5 days and then go and do stuff on the weekend, and then after I think I was 26, 25, then I started playing airsoft because I wanted to do more than just be outdoors.
So my question is, why is camping so expensive here?
Well, depends on what type of camping you're doing.
Everybody from all of Western Canada, from Ontario west, comes here.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's
well, it depends. Like if you're going out like backpack, backcountry,
this is true too.
It's only like $30 to basically what used to be $15 back in the day. It's probably $30 now. You could just get your backpack permit, and then you could go out at like Golden Years or something, start hiking.
Sorry, there's permits? I've never paid a permit in my life.
Permit? Like
yeah. Well, that
I might just park and walk.
I mean, you can do that too, yeah. But in Golden Years, you have to get a backpacker's permit, and then it basically, I think it's just a way of just tracking people so that they know how many people are actually out there in case of an emergency or something.
I suppose.
I guess, but
it's a money grab. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Either way, you're paying for parks to basically take care of it. That's what you're doing. You're paying them to basically take care of the park, and then you're out there to go out and camping.
I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm still not.
I don't believe it. No, I don't believe it.
It's just one of those things where you've been in Scouts for so long that
Did Trudeau put that in place?
No. Stop it. It's been a while.
Actually, believe it or not, the first people or government that actually started investing in national parks was the United States.
Yeah.
Yeah. all of your national parks.
Is it Teddy Roosevelt?
Yeah, Teddy Roosevelt started it in the United States. He's the reason why you still have preserved places in like Yellowstone and all that.
He was big on outdoors too.
Huge hunter, boxer, drinker, smoker. But here's the interesting thing.
Man.
It wasn't until the Bush administration where they started selling lumber and natural resources out of parks.
Mm-hmm.
So that was quite a long time
to pay for your shenanigans.
I guess.
No, you're just filling me with conspiracy theories now. Just
no. Look it up.
I know.
And then you have me where, like, I grew up in New York.
Yeah.
Okay, so for me to, like, downtown Manhattan was a 20-minute train line. You know, it was only 20 minutes. And then around me, it wasn't really suburban either because, like, between our house, which was a duplex, and my next door neighbor was 3.5, 4 feet. I didn't know what property was, acreage was, or anything like that until maybe like when I visit relatives out in Long Island or go to upstate New York, which I thought New York was just the 5 boroughs. I mean, it's just congestion, it's the big city. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere type mentality. And I was all about the city life, 110%. And then I think I was in 5th or 6th grade. We went and visited some family up in upstate New York, and I'm like, there's hills here, there's trees here. I'm like, wow. It really surprised me.
How can you compare upstate New York to what we live here, if you're to compare it?
It's better.
No, I mean like a location here.
Back.
Oh. No, we don't have the mountains like you do, but we have like sprawling hills with the start of Appalachia, of course, dense forests.
So upstate New York is like what, like the West End or something like that, or
probably I would say so.
Without the views.
Take the mountains away and just add grass and trees on them, and that's what you have.
So Calgary?
Essentially, no, definitely not Calgary. God, no. No offense. I would have to say it's kind of like when you need to drive when you go from here to 100 Mile. It's very comparable.
Okay.
It's just we have some mountains, but not as much. But once you get up there, you can have neighbors that are like a 5-minute drive away. You know, and like they have a main street. Like I guess it was comparable to everything outside of the main cities in upstate New York. It's kind of like Agassiz.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's very densely populated along a couple streets, and then it starts to really spread out, and you have farmlands everywhere. And then we have a lot of forest that hasn't been touched in forever, since maybe the colonial times.
So for me, West Coast, always raised and don't know American geography at all. It wasn't until 9/11 that I was like, what the fuck's the East Coast?
Yeah. No, it's big. It's
all
old.
we picture is the jungle, the concrete jungle.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate because also that's all I knew as well. And then like getting me to go out camping, I think the first major camping trip we did was what, last year? Was it last year or this year? This year.
Here was our first, which was last year.
Okay, so that was last year. And they're like, oh, so we're going to cosplay as homeless people.
So now the army trained you?
Well, that's the funny thing is that when you do it for a job, for a career, and military service is a job, you begrudge it. You're like, I do not want to sleep on the floor and all that. But then the funny thing is once I got back into it, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to sleep in the tent. I'd rather dig a hole, put down a tarp.
I was going to say, the homeless have better supplies.
They do. They do. I mean, they scrounge the dumpster behind Walmart all the time, and they find all the good gear. But yeah, it's so, I guess it's good. But at first, I was doing it begrudgingly. I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. And then when you go with family and kids and everything, and then all of a sudden the creature comforts come in, and then that's when the price tag really takes off and getting everything.
Yeah,
that's true.
But if you buy reliable gear, train with it.
Cry once.
Buy once. That's it. That's all you need to do.
Yep.
And then buy things that were like you can use and for a good price, not just because you find it on Amazon. It's not necessarily good quality or anything like that. Yeah, everything has to have.
But I'll add Vancouver tax, where these outdoor stores, as much as we are an outdoor city and province, these outdoor stores are small. There's not many of them. I mean, and they're jacked in prices.
Yes.
Even you look at our corporate one like Mac. That's
MEC,
that's a paycheck and a half if you're walking into Mac. Yeah. Right? It hurts me. Versus, I mean, I wasn't truly raised in it, but Air Cadets and not being well off, we're going thrift store shopping, buying pots and pans. We're making what we can in the woods. Yeah. We're not paying for a jug of water. We're digging a hole and putting a tarp over. We're figuring it out.
Yeah. And it's funny because that's what I do now. Originally, my last long road trip up to 108, I stopped at pretty much all the mom and pop outdoor stores along the way. Majority of them are like, yeah, this is our last weekend. We're closing down. Since COVID, a lot of those places closed down. Or people aren't even visiting them because, you know, the price point is so high because it costs so much for them to get the goods. And then they turn around and almost everyone is buying off of, you know, Amazon and whatnot. And that's unfortunate because you don't always get the good quality gear and stuff. And then people are mad and then people become jaded. But then I noticed here was something that I didn't see on the East Coast is the amount of RVs out there. When you pull into a campground, wow. Either you're dry camping, wet camping, or have, you know, all the RV hookups, they are populating every single stall. And I'm just like wondering, what are these people doing?
Technically, there's been a big boom in that after COVID happened.
Really?
Yeah. So that's what I'm hearing.
And our housing market, because it's easier to mortgage a trailer and RV than it is a home for a lot of
Imagine owning a RV, that not the tow one, the actual like drivable RV. That's like $200,000.
Oh no! We remember when we were looking at them. Yeah. You're low side 200,000.
Some crazy
and
ones.
You'll mortgage it for 20 years.
Yeah.
So it's
better to get the fifth wheel or the trailer style, from what I heard as well.
But it's all, here's the worst part. It's the worst build quality in any motor vehicle there is.
I heard that one too. Yeah.
So it's if you're gonna spend the money, you're better off to build it yourself. And do the tiny home trailers are actually way better built, but they're still garbage. You're better off to do it yourself. But then again, you come into Vancouver tax and time, and do we have the money and space? And oh my God, let's not even start about insurance prices out here.
It's probably cheaper to just go down
tenting is the way to go out here, but then we're so wet. That's why the RV boom as well.
Yeah.
You know what? We finally got a weekend away. Let's go. It rained and it was miserable being in a tent. Or we took the RV. You know what? Let's all gather and watch a movie with an open window in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. Right? You still get that fresh air.
I agree, yeah.
I don't really agree with RV life, but we love our tents.
I'm going that route, technically.
Yeah, we were talking about that too.
Yeah, I'm going that route because it's cheaper to buy that than a home.
And I'm might be getting a Delica now, so I might have a tiny van. Oh, it actually has a wood-burning furnace already built into it.
Nice.
I'm stoked on this little thing.
Living in a van down by the river.
But camping doesn't have to be expensive, though. That's the thing. It's it doesn't have to be expensive. When I was again, this was like years and years ago, right? When I was in Scouts, and then when I started going back to camping, you just, if you're doing things that are like, you know, backpacking, like lightweight camping, you're basically spending good quality gear, but you're also paying for lightweight.
Yes.
So your price goes up.
You're still $1,000 into it if you want to get a good.
I wouldn't say it's $1,000. No.
Between your tent, bag, backpack, to start out from scratch, to get good equipment, to go someone that has nothing.
That's the thing. I didn't start from scratch. I had.
But for the people that need to
slowly build up, right?
Because we were all fortunately raised to touch grass. But for the new generation that touches technology, they don't have the items we picked up along the way. So for someone that wants to go backpacking tomorrow with no supplies, you're $1,000 at least into a bag, I would say.
Yeah.
Between a rucksack's $300. For a good quality lifetime rucksack, you're $300.
I guess, yeah.
What's a good one-person tent? $200 for again a lifetime item.
Yeah.
Right. Roll right there. You're $500.
If you're only going summer camping, just go to Walmart and pick one of those summer tents.
I agree, and that's what I use. My 10-man, right? I picked that up for $80 on a sale. It was great.
$80, yeah. And then you get a backpack. You could go to MEC and get their $60 ones. Pretty much that's all you need, yeah. And then you just tie off your tent.
Fun fact: MEC doesn't have magnetic tags.
Oh dear.
Oh no.
Do with that what you want.
Gee.
I hate their price tags.
Two different lifestyles here.
Yeah.
I'm not endorsing anything, and I haven't done it. I'm just saying it's a fun fact. Dated someone that told me that. Who works there.
So yeah, we like living here. We have the opportunity to touch grass all the time.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Is like we're very lucky to be out here.
But it's also strange too, because like my first, I'd say 8 years here, I never went camping. Never took up on. I've done like day trips to Hatzick, Cascade Falls.
Yeah.
But my original trip out there was that I was working on this film, and we had to lug all the all the electric equipment, run lines, everything to the falls. And it's funny because it only appeared in the movie for like about 15 seconds, but we were there 15 hours lugging things up and down. I'm like, yep, this reminds me of being back in the military, you know, lugging gear, hiking up hills, it doesn't matter. Can we just use a helicopter and drop it? Let's go.
Index.
Yes. But going back there a couple of years later and actually spending the entire day out there, it's amazing because you have, you know, fast flowing falls. There's like no EMF. There's no electronics around you. No Wi-Fi signals. There's none of that, you know, hum, you know, and all that. And it was great to recharge. And that kind of like, I got nipped by the bug, so to speak, in that.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, maybe I can do this later on. And then it's like, okay, then you need to get there. You need a decent, reliable vehicle, but also cargo space. And, you know, we're in this world now in a society to where you want to get the most economical vehicle. And then I look and I'm like, okay, the comfort that you have in the cabin is important and you have that. But then you look at the storage space. Then I realize, okay, all the money that these manufacturers have it's all in the aftermarket stuff. It's the baskets you have up top on the vehicle. It's the tow hitches and everything else. And then like just for our last trip, what I went through, this company installs a tow hitch on there, and then the adapter didn't even fit. I actually had to go down there underneath the car. Felt like I was working for you. And I'm there, and I'm filing this metal because when they spot welded it, they nicked it.
Oh.
Yeah, so I had like created like a little indent bubble. It couldn't fit it in there, and I'm just like, oh my god. So I'm there wrenching and filing and pounded it. And I'm like, it's stuck. It's gonna be there forever now. I don't care. But yeah, just doing some tactical packing to get away for the weekend was quite an endeavor. And then one thing I have to say is that if you do touch grass and plan to go out, pack light, pack only the necessities, and pre-plan, you know.
You don't need to bring everything.
Exactly.
We've done both sides.
Yeah.
Oh,
We
man.
built a house in our campsite.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's just learning by trial and error what you actually need to take, what you can pick up locally.
I want to go back to why 8 years, though? Why did it take you 8 years? Was it a time, a money, not knowing what you had access to out here?
Time, money, and also this was before COVID, so every time it gets to be camping season, it gets booked up, and you're talking like whatever the population is in the Lower Mainland, they know what weekends to go, you know, the
Plus the rest
weekends.
of Western Canada.
And yeah, so you have a large demographic of people that are like, yeah, we're fed up too, we want to get away, and then everything's booked up. And then I started reading things and like, oh, you need, like he said, you need a permit for a backpack, you need a permit for that. And then like how prevalent fire bans are and why they're needed in this province. I totally get it and I understand it. But then also I'm like, you're at a campground and there's these fire rings, but you can't utilize them and they ban campfires.
Because of people like us that turn them into jet fires.
Yeah, probably. If you want to cook a whole side of beef in 10 minutes, you got to be able to do that. Yeah, and that's the reason. That's the main reason why I didn't do it. That and also being jaded, because you're so stuck in your environment. If you work like a 9-to-5 job or whatever it is, and you don't like the environment, it's hard to get yourself out of that environment because you spend your entire downtime to kind of psych yourself up to go back on Monday. So that was a lot of it. Yeah. I mean, I've gone through a lot of trials and tribulations and growth in my current job in the last 11 years. That I'm finally in a place where I know how to turn that off and to find that work-life balance. Camping certainly has helped, you know, and actually taking time away from work, spending with family or even yourself, either one works. That's my main thing. But then I also noticed when I come back, and one of the main reasons why we wanted to focus on this, because we've all, you know, took off for a large portion of that weekend, is also what are the triggers that you've been noticing when you're in your daily life environment. And the thing that I notice is I've been around computers my entire life, and the sound of the printing at work, it's like that scene in Office Space where they pull it to the back and then you just beat the living crap out of it. I go through that. It's like this weird tick. I've never noticed that, but then I hear that hum, and then I hear, you know, the vibration sound of someone has a small cubicle refrigerator across the office.
Yeah.
There's no reason why I should hear that.
But when it kicks on, it's the loudest thing ever.
And you hear it, and then it's like this little vibration, and then you start hearing, you know, the lights above you, and they're humming, and I'm like, oh my God, there's so much sound and noise pollution around me. Everything's a trigger. And I'm like, I'm going mental. And then I noticed, okay, so I need to get away. So I go out, go camping, come back. That whole relaxed state, feeling recharged, touching grass. I never put on shoes the entire time I was camping.
No.
The first thing I did, you know, was literally to touch grass, you know, to feel that grounding effect, being close with nature. All of that was great. Coming Monday, super recharged. I was so happy.
Energized.
That was gone by day 2.
Oh.
Totally. And then it's been like a week and a half before we're doing what we're doing right now.
On the flip side of that, the week before I went camping, I'm like damn near this side of hopping and skipping around. Mm-hmm. And like, I was funny sassy at work versus asshole sassy, as my coworkers would say. And all I got was, we like funny sassy Dave way more. Why are you like this? Didn't realize until I was sitting at the campsite. Went, oh, because all week I've been excited to go camping.
Right.
Yeah. It was almost better than touching grass itself, because you got by day 2 after the recharge. Yeah, this was great. Ah, fuck.
Yeah.
All right, here we go again. But that week before, knowing I got to go do it, was almost better than actually putting my feet in the water and sitting back and relaxing and getting sunburnt to shit. But I didn't realize until now how much the importance of that, taking that time off to do it, because of the build up to it.
Yeah.
Then once I came back from that and realized on day 2 of like, oh, that was great, but yeah, here we are. I had more relaxing time for the week before than the 2 days of, because I was excited for it. This is the point of vacations. I'd never taken a vacation before. I didn't. Yeah, I've never gone anywhere.
Different perspective on
Yeah,
this. So
now
you
I
have
get
one
it.
way and then the other way.
I didn't even hit that relaxed state until probably after camp was established and everything was put up.
Of course, yeah.
And then finally, so like the week before, I'm like, oh man, gotta load the car, gotta organize everything, blah, 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 gear check, all that stuff.
I should say, my trip, when you guys came to join my site,
Yeah.
I had that stressed out.
Exactly.
But coming to join you, it was like, I got a tent and a sleeping bag, I'm good.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a big difference in that build-up of a hop and a skip, where when I was packing for my trip, it was, okay, do I have everything I need? I'll bring extra for other people in case they forget their stuff. That prep was not as relaxing.
And that's the thing, because like in my world and in my upbringing and professional life before this, you know, following the 6 Ps, which is, you know, pre-planning prevents piss poor performance, right? And I apply that to everything, and you just become a victim of that, but also you're thinking too much in your head. You're planning contingency after contingency after contingency. You lose sight of what are you doing it for? And that's one thing that I've been struggling with, and I definitely noticed that, okay, time to make a couple of more, you know, behavioral modifications to go out and find myself grounded. So my question is, when it comes to grounding, like, what is grounding? Is the connection with nature is your initial thing, or is it just like all the things that you don't like about your daily life? Is it just to tune it out and step from it?
I guess for me, it's from what your guys' experience with you know, you getting excited to go there, and then you being there, being relaxed. For me, it's the other way around. It's the planning that I like. I don't know why, but that's just me. I like making a list. I like making all kinds of notations of what to do. I like to put contingencies in place. You know.
Clearly we all need to plan more trips together.
Absolutely. Just divide and conquer.
Well, I mean, you can see the organization that I put through when it comes to, like, you know, setting up, like, whenever it's a podcast stuff, I gave you guys a template. You know, like, once I see that, then I get excited because I know what things are planned out, right?
Yeah.
And then from there, it just goes in my head going, okay, then this is the time, this is the place, this is what we're doing, and then execute from there, right? So that's my kind of almost like Zen moment or relaxation moment. We're like, okay, everything's set, I like it, then we'll just, as long as everything flows fine. If it kind of just stuff gets thrown at it, I also like to go ahead and just, like, in my head going, okay, start fixing stuff along the way, right? So I'm that type. Like I find that relaxing. I don't know if it's weird, but I find that relaxing. Like, just planning everything and then having a backup plan just in case, right? So that's where I see myself in big trips. Whenever, like either going down to like Florida, when I did big trips to Florida, it was COVID times. I had everything on a notepad, written down everything, backup plans, where I don't know. I just like that. When we were talking about when stuff happened, last, like the attempted assassination last week, I was doing threat assessments of, what's China doing? What's Russia doing? What's the UK and France doing? Like, I was mentally going through my head, what is gonna cascade if something happens, right? And what is the immediate plan of action that I need to do just in case? So funny one that happened recently is, I don't know, guys, since I'm in IT, CrowdStrike happened, and I'm like, oh no, they're talking about it in regular news. This must be big. Opened up my phone, while I was doing my morning business, just trying to make sure that, the world is still operational, because knowing that information technology is reliant on everybody is something where if regular people are talking about it, something must be going on. And then looked it up. I'm like, oh, here it is. And then I'm like, okay, I got to go to work and see if my stuff is alive and stuff, right? Yeah. So again, while I was going to the train, pulled up my work phone, making sure that all my guys know what's going on, see what's happening. Of course, there was already a buzz in my work chats about what's going on. Nothing was affected, which is great. But the first thing I did when I left, I was like, okay, Jill, I got to go to work really early. Bug out bag is there just in case something happens, and and then gave her a kiss goodbye, and then went to work, right? Like that's the type of mindset like I put myself into, I guess, when it comes to this stuff, because I like the planning portion. I just like the organization of things. That's pretty much like what my head goes through, is like everything's just organized and queued up, almost like a processor taking in information and then processing it out afterwards. So that's where I find my joy in camping is the planning part. And then once I'm actually in camp, I'm relaxed, but still planning things along the way, right? It's like I'll go hike or something, right? I'll be like, okay, we've hiked for about 30 minutes. We're at 15 minute per kilometer sort of deal. So we're at this mark. Double check. Yep, we are. And then that's how I turn. Yeah.
So also at the same time, you have camping, which is the recreational side, but then you mentioned your bug out bag, which can be attributed and used for either case scenario.
Yeah.
What's in your bug out bag?
So just 2 MREs now, because I used to have 1. So it's become not a bag anymore, but a tub in my car, because I have to worry about 2 people, right? Plus a dog, right? Yes. So I got a little bit of dog food on a Ziploc bag. I got, water supply. We just replenish that all the time, because we just leave water in the car, right? And then if worse comes to worse and we have to ditch the car, then I have a bag that can just load stuff in, and then you just get out of there as quick as possible or whatever, right? But first aid is the big one in the car. We have our hammocks, which is great for if you want to set up a hammock on the tree there. So I have about 4 of them in the car now, which is great, because I like to test out stuff and figure out stuff.
But also that it also eliminates you sleeping on the ground, needing a mat and all that, and it helps you eliminate gear at the same time.
Yeah, if you're elevated, that means that everything's on top, and you don't have to sleep on the rough ground. Everything's much better in your back when you're sleeping in the air like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but it's just general stuff, honestly. Like, it's not that serious. I guess it's serious for people, because when they see a big tub in my bag, back of a car, they're like, oh, what you got here? I'm like, oh, let me show you. The first thing is like the night vision at the top, so at least it gets them all excited, right?
Yeah.
But I haven't used that in a while, so it's like, here's the night vision just in case I need it. I mean, I really don't need it for survival purposes, honestly. You're better off with a flashlight.
It's your justification for buying it.
Yeah,
it's okay.
You have a flashlight. Yeah, a lot of lighting kits and stuff.
But a lot of people don't even consider bug out bags.
No. And I also have my UHF and VHF radio, so I could tune into, because I have a ham radio license, I could tune into the actual, like, if everything shuts down, I still have an off-grid sort of a communication to the outside world.
That's 100% needed.
Yeah. So get your license if you want to do that.
Yeah.
But it's not a serious bag, honestly. I mean, like I said, other people be like they have nothing, right?
Yeah.
But you have to have something. And
You're still way ahead of the curve, because even with what you have there, it may slow you down a little bit, but you can also divide that up into between a couple of backpacks and go. And if you need to ditch the vehicle or head north, head south, or wherever, it's easy to do. I mean, you still have the most reliable, transportation. That is your 2 legs.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know about the ankle.
Yeah.
No. It's getting better.
So we've talked lots about camping, but also I'll bring back to the fact you didn't do it for 8 years. And we've talked about you taking city walks and getting to a park when you can on lunch breaks. What are things you guys do in a daily outside of regiment that can maybe pull and grounding? So, like, for me, it's my fish tanks. I know it sounds silly, but I literally, when I do a cleaning process on them, when I do anything in the tank, not to sound that hippy-dippy, but, like, I can feel it. When I finish the cleaning process and pulling myself out of the little nature world I've built in there with live plants and the whole ecosystem, I can feel that grounding after. Like, even on the most stressful days.
Is it like a mind clearing thing sort of deal, or just your body just relaxes after you're cleaning it?
Yeah, like, and the literal parts of that, like, touched water and we're in the water. It's very, by definition, grounding, right? The electromagnetic pulse, the hippy dippy side of it, and the auras and all that jazz you want to go on to. It's like, you hear someone talk about it, and I'm like, okay, crazy person. Then I stick my hands in a fish tank, and I'm like, oh, shit. Yeah, I can feel that grounding of the negative side coming out. And is it maybe just a pause from work, or touching nature of live plants and animals and stuff like that? So do you guys have anything outside of your workplace, outside of planning for camping, knowing you're coming to the field on a weekend? No plants, no. Well, you got a doggo. Even a doggo.
Just the 30-minute walk at night just clears up your head. That's like a day relief, basically. Of like, I don't have to think about anything. I just go out and kind of. It's not really a planning thing at that point, so that eliminates that right away off my head. But going out and basically just walking with the dog, and then walking with Jill too, because we walk at the same time. Yeah, we just. You end up also grounding yourself with your loved ones as well, right? The relationship you have, and as well as just talking stuff out in life with her, and just going out there and just enjoying the fresh air. And that for me just like it feels like just the stress leaving my body, and be like, okay, before I go to sleep, right? This is what we do. We walk, and then we come back and we have dinner, or or we had dinner before, and then we'll go to bed or something like that, right? It's like it just takes the day and basically ends it off at like that. Yeah. You feel more grounded, you feel better with the relationship, or you talk stuff out, and then afterwards you just come home and be like, that's actually fun, or that was enjoyable.
Literally aired it out.
Yeah. So something like that. Yeah. It could be anything, like stress. It could be stuff that was happening. You could talk about it while you're walking, or whatever it is. If nothing was happening, then you could figure out if you need to do something else. Like when your mind clears out of clutter, and then you realize, oh, I forgot to do that. I'll make a note of that, right? So that's that helps on a daily basis, right? Yeah.
For me, I just look forward to every moment I can get out of my office and walk the yard or inspect
Touch
things.
some wood.
Yeah, touch some wood.
Guys can't get away.
But the interesting thing is that our property, Still Creek, runs through our property. So there's a culvert that runs through, but then it opens up.
You got the Greenway Trail, I believe.
Yes, and that's beside us as well.
Yeah.
So we have both things. So we have a little bit of that. But what's really interesting is that we have a lot of wildlife that we encounter. Some of it's welcome, some of it's not. There's been an issue with cougars the last few years when we had night shift, but now that we're not there on night shift, we probably don't see them. But we have this one beaver dam that we have to keep tearing down all the time.
Does he steal your wood?
No.
Oh.
But there's been times where like some like strapping, which is like really thin, like 1.75 inch wood and 8 feet long or small pieces, break, and then when we have flooding throughout the entire area, it'll flow through and into the creek. And then next thing I know, I'm like, man, that guy just got free lumber and he's gonna build himself a dam. Yeah, and we just blame it on him anyway. But when I'm outside, I mean, our entire lot is covered in tarmac and ground, so you can't necessarily touch grass, and we have these dividers, and you can't actually get to the creek. But just the fact that that's there, that's enough moisture that's being pulled up and then put into the air. It's really good. But my walk from the SkyTrain to us, there's a park and a green space around the tandem building.
Mm-hmm.
And that enough, just once you get there, you could smell, like, you can smell the berry bushes. You could smell the flowers that are growing there. And a lot of it is just invasive species that just grow there. I mean, I see cattails there. I haven't seen cattails since living in the Midwest.
Really?
Yeah, there's cattails growing there. And they're like, they're huge.
Everywhere around here.
I just don't see them. I usually just break them off, throw them up in the air, and then let them explode. Ordnance. But then when I go through there, and then it's cooling because it can be hot everywhere else, but it's nice and cool there. And then you see ducks almost every day and stuff like that. I mean, where I live currently, the only time I see ducks is when those bastards have flown and they're floating around in the pool. You know, they're making the best of their environment, so to speak, at the same time. But yeah, it's been really difficult for me. I don't know, just because I grew up in the city and it became so prevalent, but then all that time I spent overseas, being out in the wild, so to speak, you could appreciate it. Like even being in a war zone, you could appreciate the natural beauty. Like, man, I want to come back here on vacation here. I want to hike that mountain. Not at the time, probably still not now. But it's I've seen some nice places, and I've like marked them down.
And they're still there? You didn't blow them up?
No. They should still be there. Still. But yeah, it's a different experience for me, and it's hard for me to. But I am excited. I am geared up. Like when I know I have to do a course here, do my one-on-ones, for training and all that here at Panther. Like I am ecstatic because I get to be out there, be in the bush, pass on a skill set to someone else, and teach them things like movement contact, and all that, and being out here, like I can have like my back blown out from lifting 2-inch boxes and everything, feeling overworked and all that, but then I can come here and then I'm like, I don't feel it necessarily until the ride home, and then try to get out of the car and then the legs don't work and it's like I can't move. But when you're in that moment, the adrenaline's going, you're in that happy place, you don't realize all your ailments. And I think being in office like work, we're exposed to so much and radio frequencies and stuff like that. And they're like, there's studies that say, it's not enough to affect you in the environment, which is really weird. And it's like, is it radio frequency? Is it, different types of radiation and all that? And there was some crazy studies where they actually took like seeds from plants, vegetables and all that, put it next to Wi-Fi routers, put it next to various antennas and see how it affects it. And it doesn't really affect it per se. It's the heat. Mm-hmm. And there's times where like I could be in my room and if my computer's on, all of a sudden I get like this weird hot flash. And I think heat is a trigger for me, but also from being in, no pun intended, hot zones. Anytime I get hot, I get freaked out. I never understood that, even as a child.
The science to, if you think about it, like Wi-Fi routers operate at 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, right?
Right.
They operate very low at like, half a watt, 0.6. It's not enough to damage you.
No.
Okay, so think of a microwave now. Microwaves operate at 2.45. Mm-hmm. And guess how much power they're outputting? Because they have more power, right? They're operating at what? Like
100?
400 to 500 watts, right? Sometimes 800, right? But it's concentrated into an area, right?
Yeah.
And protected as well, right?
Protected.
You could see that it excites molecules, right?
Yes.
That 2.45 excites water molecules in there. That's why you have to put water into microwave to basically get it to boil stuff, right?
Right.
So you can see there, like that's the correlation that people tend to associate with. Is like, oh yeah, anything in between will probably be not good for you. I get it. Yeah, it's microwaves get dangerous when you get up to the higher frequency stuff, right? The higher frequency it gets, the more dangerous it gets, the more heat it produces in you. More frequency, more power. It all depends, right? You get more power in a low frequency, it'll still harm you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see there. That's why frequency is very dangerous for you. Microwaves is very dangerous for you. That's why there's a correlation with it, and I can understand why. And ground, like, that's why we're talking about this. Grounding yourself basically means that how much body does your or how much current or electricity does your body produce is correlated to what frequencies pass through you and how it reacts, right? So you can see where it's coming from. I'm not a scientist myself or anything to that matter. I'm just the radio theorist guy here because I know a little bit about it. Yeah.
That's where I speak to the hippy dippy side and taking your shoes off while you're camping.
Yeah.
How much relief as soon as your skin touches grass and ground.
Oh, that was insane. That was insane.
So that's hitting a point of contact where you ground yourself to the ground, and then everything just flows through from the floor.
Discharges.
Yeah, discharges you. So that actually is like that does actually work in a way, right? Because if you think about it, if you're doing like if you're doing electrical work, those folks wear rubber everything so that they don't make contact with it. Yeah. But if they do, if they're wearing boots, it's not gonna go through them really quick, right? Yeah. Because they're wearing rubber boots. But if they don't have rubber boots and they literally have a contact to the ground, what's that electricity going to do? It's going to go to the wire, to him, and then to the ground right away.
Yeah. Everyone accepts that scientific side. Yeah. Yes, rubber, don't get out of the car with fallen poles. Everyone gets that. Yeah. But then as soon as we talk about, no, take your socks off, touch grass, people are like, yeah, okay, smoke another one, hippie. But the truth is, when you touch that ground, you truly discharge. And how much crap are we taking in the day? Between our cell phones, radios, microwaves. As much as I'm outside, my cell phone rules my life when I'm in the truck. Everything comes through my phone, every map I go, everything. How much am I taking on? And let's not even get into cars today and the amount of computers behind them.
Oh man, when an EV rolls by and you hear that hum and all that electrical sounds and everything.
Actually, that's a auditory sound that's legally supposed to be put into the car so that deaf people can hear it coming.
It's also the motor for some of the electromagnetic motors that they have. It'll make that humming sound. Yeah.
Oh my god. There's a small on like high torque settings when you slam that pedal. Yeah. But if it's just your typical Prius owner, you wouldn't hear that car at all. No. Yeah. And damn it, I had a fact and I lost it. Linkin Park? Give me the name of the singer. I'm losing it. I should know this.
Chester?
Yeah, wrote the tune for the Prius.
Really?
Yeah.
That's weird.
It's a weird fact.
Yeah, that's a weird fact.
Automotive industry.
Oh my God.
But yeah, those hums are mostly auditory sounds so that people can hear them.
Okay.
You hear the backup one all the time, but that forward motion one is in place for deaf people, and it shows the skills of deaf people and how their senses pop up. That us as totally normal visual people don't notice it as often, and it's a low, annoying hum where they hear it a mile away.
Oh, to me, it's like nails on a chalkboard.
Yeah, well, your brain broken.
It is broken. Absolutely. Too many TVIs. Yeah, it's just rough. And then when you go back into nature, is it legit or is it a placebo effect? Because there's times when I've gone camping, I'm like, it was nice just to get away and have no responsibility. But then other times I'm like, I didn't really notice anything. Like the first day out of this last camping trip, I did the whole grounding thing. I touched grass, barefoot and everything, just let all the stress go. On the second day, I could move. Like everything
was hot as hell.
I guess part of it was the heat, but then I was hydrated. I ate nothing, crashed like glutamine or anything like that.
You get good electrolytes in you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I did all those things.
That's also a good provider of like keeping yourself energized as well. Like chemical based. Yeah.
Chemical based. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But then all of a sudden I just felt like, oh, I'm done.
But it was like 37 degrees and 0 wind.
No, maybe that was it.
It was disgusting.
That'll zap your energy, though.
Yeah, and as you said, heat gives you issues. So
psychosomatic.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And then you went and crawled into a fucking yurt.
Yeah. Yeah, probably not the best idea.
Probably not the best idea.
No, but it was all right. But
as long as you feel relaxed.
Yeah.
It wasn't as hot as when we were. Like the yurt wasn't as hot as yours was when we were there. That was an oven.
But then the following day, I was so energized. I was ready to fight a grizzly.
I don't know if it's placebo effect.
Yeah, but I gave you a minigun that day.
There has been enough research on it to show that it does, like going and touching grass outside does give you that energized feeling. But you really gotta like go out there barefoot, go out there, touch stuff.
And you had a rockin' nap in fresh air.
True.
Yeah, that is also true as well. Fresh air, yeah.
The best sleep I had when I passed out on the couch, outside for 6 hours.
True.
Yeah, in your tent. Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Like how much carbon emissions and everything that we have in the city or whatnot. I mean, I don't see.
You could also dive into stuff like we're all chemical based and stuff that we eat and stuff because everything has microplastics nowadays. How much does that take into effect, right?
True.
There's just a lot of and levels of stuff, diseases and stuff has risen up over the recent years, and is how much has that contributed to microplastics or just things that we're using, things that we're ingesting, right? There's just a whole bunch of things that we just, put into ourselves, like radiate to ourselves, and we just take for granted that going outside, eliminating all of those, right? There's no way to eliminate the food stuff because you're literally eating the stuff.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
We can hunt.
We could hunt.
Oh, but that's 10 grand.
Also, you're not going to be able to hunt with everybody hunting at the same time. So
and it also sucks because there's plenty of places we can hunt, but unfortunately, only foreign hunters can come here and hunt them.
Yeah.
No, you just got to pay 10 grand for a guided hunt.
Oh my God.
For a day.
Basically, not something that we could do everyday life.
No,
with. Yeah.
no.
But yeah, it's something that you could just like go out there, eliminate a lot of things, and just go outside and enjoy nature. And I'm pretty, we're fortunate that we're close to it, as well as they try to preserve it as much as possible here, which is great. But yeah, it's just a lot of stuff that factors into what gets us grounded here, right? It's just, going outside, touching grass, and what you experience is just going out and getting your feet grounded. Is it placebo or is it an actual science? I mean, there has been research enough on it that it is.
True, and then that's one of the things I wanted to touch on was if you don't have the opportunity to go out in the wilderness or find a place like this or have time to walk the park in your local neighborhood, you mentioned earlier about
grounding mats?
like grounding mat. Yeah.
So I actually use grounding mats while I sleep, or I have one that you could put on your foot while you're working. You basically just plug it into a regular plug at work, but it doesn't plug into the power.
Just the ground.
Because electricals here, they're all grounded. You have that green line that goes down to the bottom of the floor, and then it grounds itself to the building. So if that touches earth, then I guess someone decided, hey, why don't we just do that? And then it was in a Joe Rogan podcast that I saw it. I'm like, oh, cool, grounding. I knew about it a while ago. They called it earthing back in the days.
Earthing, okay.
Yeah, where someone actually has almost like a grid fence or something, like a chicken wire fence on their bed. I'm like, that's dumb. And then now they could actually just weave it into the fabric now. So they have grounding
kind of like electric blankets.
Yeah. So,
okay.
So it's like just a sheet with not silver, but like some sort of metal or whatever. But it's soft enough that you could wash it. And then I tested it. Put a multimeter in yourself, and boop.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I just realized I have a heated mattress pad. So heated blanket, just a pad.
Yeah. Similar design, but
I just correlated that I have better sleeps with that pad on. I used to take it off in summer because I only used it for winter. But I just correlated I have way better sleeps with that even on the bed and plugged in. And I never even thought about the grounding side of that thing.
Well, does it have a 3-prong or is it a 2?
It's a 3.
Okay.
But it does run power,
but
obviously.
Does the metal actually touch your skin? Because
no.
You want it to touch you.
Yes.
And it's.
But even the waves and the currents, there's still some discharge there, I would imagine.
I get you.
And like certain fabrics, like when you pull a fabric out of a dryer and you could feel the electricity filter it.
That's just static electricity.
That's static. But it has to discharge somewhere.
Yeah, it has to discharge somewhere. Yeah. And that's why it hops to you.
Yeah, it's trying.
Yeah.
And then you touch the cat.
Yep. But from what I heard online, looking at all the reviews before I bought it, it helps people who have like swelling. It helps people. Well, I don't know if it's true.
Did you try it for your ankles?
Yeah, it actually brought down a lot of my swelling on my body. Right. So if you have inflammation that is like uncontrollable, try it. And then, I mean, it's like for $30, I was like, yeah, fuck it, whatever.
Right.
I'll trust all the reviews because they were saying things like, yeah, they have like, you know, they couldn't sleep at night, now they can with this product, or they have things like, yeah, night terrors or something. And I didn't really believe it. It's all chemical based for all that stuff in your head. But you put all that together and like, okay, well, there's enough people reviewing it to say that there's a positive, you know, things about it that, you know, why not? I'll try it. Tried it. Then my swelling from my ankles, like it dramatically increased the healing time for it. So I'm guessing it's just the buildup of it. And then when you discharge it, it just heals faster, or it just makes it feel better. And that's how I felt within the first week of using it. And I haven't stopped using it since. And
Really?
Yeah. It feels good. Yeah.
How long have you had it now?
Probably 2 years now, 2.5 years, somewhere around there. Yeah, I
Got an affiliate link?
can send you one. Yeah.
Sweet. Look for the link down below.
But yeah, no, yeah, the grounding mat, you could just have it at work. That means you have to take off your socks and stuff and do it. Kind of
Some
gets weird.
workplaces don't like it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it kind of gets weird. So I don't bother with it. But at night, it feels good.
But we are in the age where workplaces actually recognize these things. If you pulled that out 30 years ago and took your dress shoes off,
If you pulled out one of those balls as well, the HR will tell you, no, those are actually bad for you. Get that out of here.
but today's day, they'll let you try.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good for
Yeah.
you. And I mean,
it's common to have someone ask for ergonomic desks, sit-stand desks, right? That's one of those things.
I mean,
right?
it's been what, 10 years since UBC put in the natural sun lights?
Yeah.
So they have ducting through
it's-
the building so that it portrays natural sunlight through all the classrooms.
It'll
instead
change
of,
someone's mood right away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So there's
But granted, we also live in Vancouver, so like, how effective is that? And then rain's pretty depressing. So how many days are UBC students like?
Funny enough, I used to have one of those at my first job at TELUS, where I was at the call center, and it's just a big lamp. Someone retired. They said, "Oh, you could take this. I don't need it." I'm like, "Okay, I'll try it out." Just having that sun, turn it on, because I used to work at 5 a.m. Right, turn that on, and then you just close your eyes, and then you can just feel that warmth hit you, and it feels like, you're like, oh man, like, I just woke up and feeling this, and then after that 10 minutes, I'm like, man, I feel energized. Right, 10 to 15 minutes, you just feel energized. You're not yawning or anything like that. I mean, you probably will.
To me, I would close my eyes. I'd think of those Corona commercials, and I'd be like, I'm thirsty. I don't know. It's. I'm coming out of my comfort zone in that regard, and looking to alternative medicines and various things, because the amount of years that I lived a regimental life and thought what to think and say and do, that it's rough not to think on your own, but to think outside the box and these ordinary things.
There are alternatives, technically.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, this ails you, suck it up,
Which I think we're all part of.
Yeah.
That generation.
Yeah.
Move on, dude. Yeah. So
Yeah.
what? I mean, I'm the safety guy, and look at me at work. Okay, that hurt. Keep working. Do as I say, not as I do. Don't do what I did. But we're part of the generation of just suck it up, Buttercup.
And it doesn't hurt to try, new methods to solve old ailments. So to
Yeah,
speak.
no, look it up yourself. If touching grass outside works for you, well, then keep going at it, right? If it doesn't work for you, then find something else. You will find something else.
One of the best niche random purchases I made was a sun lamp that was an alarm clock. So no matter what.
So it just lights up as you.
It was a sunrise that you wake
that's
up to.
cool.
So you set your alarm for say 6, and it would start the sun at like 5:35. So
And
by
then it gets
6,
brighter and
it was
brighter.
like sunrise. All right, wake up, motherfucker.
Wow.
Best way to wake up I've ever. It was an expensive lamp, and I haven't bought one since it broke, unfortunately. I need to do it again. It was like $230.
Did you try to kill the sun?
No, it just. I guess light.
He wasn't in
elements
airsoft back in the day, so he with a total gun at it.
No, but I was at 4 a.m. My shift was 4 a.m. So I wouldn't wake up with the sun. But that lamp, having that sunrise, oh man, I could wake up and I'd feel fully refreshed. It felt amazing. I need to buy one again. But this year, since the flood and I moved upstairs, my east-facing window,
You get the sun.
I haven't had an alarm clock all year, or since the move.
That'll change when you start heading to winter time.
Yes, of course.
Sun comes up at 7.
But that waking up to even the artificial sunbeam light was, oh my goodness. Samsung now does a thing on their phones where you can do a incremental alarm. So
like
it
slowly
play the
tinier,
music.
tinier, yeah.
But it's music, not light. But that sun lamp.
The sun lamp does help, yeah.
That I'll find an affiliate link for one of those.
Nice.
They were amazing. And as much as grounding and actually touching grass is important, I think those falsehoods, be it a sunlight or a fish
just the
tank,
mental factor,
something that connects you back to nature. I mean, on a human scale, we're programmed for sunlight.
No, exactly. Yeah. And you have what they call it, the circadian rhythm.
So, thank you.
You need to reset into that. That's another thing I noticed, like for 11 or 12 years straight, my sleeping schedule finally got to about 6 hours a night, where it used to be 5 and 4, and then for 15 years before that, it was an average of maybe 4 or 5 hours sporadically spread across 2 different shifts, essentially. But then I noticed working night shift, I became a lot more irritable, and I hated the sun because I block it out because you're trying to sleep in the morning, but you're still waking up super early. And now that I'm almost on a natural rhythm, I wake up as the sun's coming up now. Of course, in the fall and the winter, it's going to be different. I mean, that alone has helped me improve my mood. If I didn't have that and still working in the environment I'm working in, I'd probably go crazy.
Thank you, night shift workers.
100%.
Yeah,
I'm so glad I got out of that.
It's been proven in true statistics that they really have more issues with night shift people than regular working people.
I did it for 7 years.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good for you if you're at night shift. So try to get out of that. Like give it to someone young. They could take it. Yeah.
And easy cheesy enough, a fucking sun lamp. Those.
Really?
Yeah, do blackout curtains on a sun lamp. Get your own circadian rhythm going.
Yeah.
Full blackout curtains.
That's interesting.
In a sun lamp.
You could actually defeat that by just doing that, then.
Somewhat.
Okay.
Somewhat, because there's still the other side of the mental side of night when you realize you're the only person on the road. You're the only person in the yard. You're the only person behind a computer saving the world.
That's another issue on its own. Yeah, I get it.
But setting your own rhythm, that I found, because I did have that, because I went from a 4 a.m. shift to a 3 p.m. shift. So
you're working the night. Yeah.
I flipped it, and having that sun lamp when I was on nights. Now that I'm on days, holy crap! Yeah, I wake up. Even when we were camping, 4 hours sleep. I could go to bed at 2, and the sun was bright and up, and now it was that fresh air and natural sunlight and yada yada. Sure, maybe, but I swear by that sun and the sunlight and your own rhythm, especially for the night shifters. It's very hard to do. As a night shifter, you are a stubborn asshole. It's the only way to put it. You just have to, again, thank you. That's all I have to say. Thanks for taking my shift. I appreciate you. But those falsehoods, those placebo effects are all, I mean, there's a whole science behind placebo. They prescribe placebo for a reason.
It's all in the mind, you mean?
Yeah. So a fake sun lamp, touching nature, if it's a house plant, or even having fake house plants, something with life in your house, something that's, even if it's fake, it's greenery, it's something from the norm, it's nature.
I wonder if airsoft is considered a placebo effect now.
For those heavy kit users?
Yeah.
Whatever gets you out of the house, guys. That's pretty much, or whatever gets you out of that cycle in life.
And that's what got me into airsoft so hard. I mean, you both know me when I started. I was hardcore, and that's because I was on night shift.
Yeah.
So it was, hey, I went to bed at 4 a.m, but I'm going to be up and at the field for 9 a.m. ready to go into battle.
Yeah.
And then crawl through some dirt and feel things. I felt amazing. Almost better than I do now, because it's like, you know what? It's a Saturday. I'm going to have a little sleep in. It's going to be, I'm going to wake up to that sun a little better.
Yeah.
I need to get back into that regiment of airsoft for touching grass. Unfortunately, I've had hindering injuries to stop me, but that regiment and that desire to get out here has been a big difference. But maybe because I was on night shift, it was a harder craving for the natural world.
Yeah. But then you get to a certain point where then it becomes, you don't really enact on it because you take it for granted.
Yeah.
So you definitely got to change that behavior.
When was the last time we all played?
Oh man.
I would say it's the same thing for me when I was camping. I was camping a lot in my mid-20s all the way up to my early 20s or early 30s. And then all of a sudden I kind of just like, man, this is just like, because again, my favorite part is just the planning portion. Things just didn't work out very well. You know, friends would ditch out, they would have something else to do, and then it would just be me and be like, man, what am I planning for then? What am I doing then? So I kind of went to a point where I'd be like, no. And then I got into a relationship with someone else, and then that took over whatever I was doing before. And I kind of lost touch with it, right? So when you lose touch with something, it seems like you just crave it a lot more, right?
Yeah.
And then when I met Jill, she was big on outdoors and stuff, so I'm like, oh, okay, me too. And then I just slowly got back into it, having lost a lot of my gear because of, you know, previous things. And yeah, I find I enjoyed it more afterwards. Yep. Because it was just a matter of like, oh, sweet, that something activated my brain. I love the planning portion of it. You know, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And boom, I just fell right into the groove because it was just something that I knew how to do it. I knew how to plan for it. And I almost had every gear for it. And then from there, it's like, man, this is actually fun because I've done this before. And it's kind of just like falling back into that lost sort of like Zen state that I had before, or, you know, something that just like my mind went boom, like autopilot, right?
Yeah.
Like
that
I
was
didn't
me
lose
this
it.
year.
Yeah.
I promised myself I'd get out more this year and actually go camping because I lost it and I fell away from it. And it between Air Cadets and when I was traveling Canada, I tried to get out and do as much as possible. And then all of a sudden, adult life and responsibilities jumped in the way. And it was
that is just one of those things that is just the monotony of life, just like endless circle.
And friends bailing and all that added to it where it was fuck it. And then I had the flip side of that when my trip, when I invited everybody actually showed up, which is great, love you all, but holy crap, it got busy.
It got to a point where this is too much.
And then rotating out who's going to stay at this lot, who's going to stay at this lot, you know. But big shout out to, is it Chiem?
Cheem.
Yeah.
No,
Cheem.
If we don't have many spots left in BC, shut the fuck up.
So the pro tip, provincial parks and government parks, they're always going to get booked up quick.
Yeah.
Look for private campgrounds. It's just something that people got to learn how to do, okay?
We don't want those booked up either.
Such a nice place, though.
It is.
Use your local parks that are paid for by your taxes and go for a nature walk. Don't use our campsites. I want a spot when I can finally go.
No, I agree. Yeah. And funny enough, back 20 years ago when I started doing like camping and stuff, it was so much easier to find a spot.
Yep.
Because there wasn't Instagram, there wasn't Facebook, there wasn't big review sites on review.
It was also
only website reviews.
seasonal booking. You couldn't book a year and ahead. It was open season at the start of the season.
Yeah.
Right.
There was no pre-booking.
Yeah.
It was you had to wait.
Yeah, and there was a lot more walk-ins too. So you just drive in, walk in, and you get a spot.
Yeah.
There was a lot more of that.
Go
but
sign
nowadays,
your envelope for the night and put your $20 in it. And
So those are practically gone now. You have to pre-book everything online. Everything's changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot more people, like, you know, influencers and stuff, they'll go out there and do stuff and then come back home and take photos, right? If that's your thing, cool. That's great, right? At least you're doing something. Feds.
Our ride's almost here.
You're real low. Holy.
You could hear that.
He's right there.
Yeah.
Like 1,200 feet up.
This is the part of touching grass, and we can also hear everything else.
They knew every.
Oh, man.
The pro tip I can give, though, is don't try to book Friday to Monday with provincial sites. Try to book Saturday, Sunday, maybe Monday, because there are those vacationers that booked the Friday, so it doesn't show when you pick Friday to Monday. If you try for Saturday, you might find more availabilities.
Do weekdays as well.
Yeah.
Because those are the big ones. Everybody books for a weekend.
Yeah.
Try weekdays. Do a 3-day thing. It's great. For the price that you're paying for a campsite, go for it.
Book the time off. This year, so last year was the first vacation I ever took in my life where I planned time off work. I booked it off. I didn't show up to work, and I stayed home. And on my industry, it was great because there was a massive snowstorm, and I got to sit at home and cozy and look outside every morning and laugh at my coworkers like, haha, you got to deal with that.
Yeah.
This year was the first vacation of my life that I planned to go somewhere, and even though it was an hour and a half drive away, it was far enough to get away, to shut the phone off, but close enough if an emergency call needed to come for one of my dogs I left at home.
Yeah.
It was doable. But don't forget to plan those, because like I said, now I finally understand vacation mode. The vacation mode and mindset is almost as valuable as that actual time off.
I think as you grow older, you realize that, you know, your time is more like you take your time for granted. And then all of a sudden you're like, man, I'm getting old. Like I start to feel that too, and
I got
I'm
20
like,
summers left.
I got don't even.
Yeah, let's not do the math.
I know, but you're going through the year and and then you go, man, I took vacation and just sat at home. I'm dumb. Yeah, because I used to do that, like, you know, big video game releases. I'd be like, yeah, I'll take like 3 days off or 4 days off just so that I could play this release. And then looking at it back now, it's like, did that really make a difference? It made a placebo effect of like, I'm happy.
Yeah, placebo, you know, short-term gains. You want something that's going to be more long-term, something that you're going to have like a tangible memory or something like that.
Yeah,
but that's I keep having a bunch of like Xbox release videos pop up. Original Xbox.
Yes, that's like a core memory unlock, basically.
Yeah. So having that game release day, is almost as like.
I would agree to that. Yes, because
if it's something you love and you're passionate about, and
but
it's worth taking time off.
The reason it's hitting you is because you lived that.
Yes.
There you go.
So same for your game release, though.
Yeah.
I'm saying it's still
like
valuable.
I said, you lived through that and you experienced that. That's why it's hitting you in the head, going. It's just releasing dopamine at that point. You're like, oh man, yeah, I lived through that. I loved it, right? But for me, I'm looking back. I'm like, did it really benefit me?
No, but was it a break? Was it a release? Was it something you enjoyed?
So it's a double-edged sword, right? You could think about it and be, man, did I waste that vacation time just for that? I should have done something else, honestly. But at the same time, looking back, you're like, yeah, actually, no, that's actually, like, that felt good. That felt good, yeah.
And to play devil's advocate, I mean, it's hard to say in the moment whether that was smart or not. You know, you can do comparatives to what other people would think, but it's probably something that you needed then and there.
Yeah.
If you don't have a super stressful job, then no. If you don't have a super stressful environment, or you feel like your walls are crumbling in on you, and you're like one of those people that have like serious seasonal depression or anything, or you're trying to, you know, cut down finances and you can't get away, then yeah, that's actually a very valid thing to do for yourself. But I think as the individual, you have to have the maturity and hindsight and understanding of how to balance that. That's the first and foremost thing. So before anything, if you plan on trying to go away, if you plan on doing these trips, you know, just focus on yourself and your own personal needs first, and the hell with the consequences.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, for me now, it's experience with another person, right? You know, a wife, or, you know, just making memories on that fact, right? That, as you grow older, priorities change. I get it. I get it. The priorities change, right? You know, you either got loved ones or kids or someone that you know, you have a lot of amount of time. You got to spend it, right? And that's all up to you. You're younger. You wanna take a vacation just to do that game release. Go for it, right?
Do it.
Yeah. So there's really no.
But still take time and touch grass.
Yes.
I saw a great TikTok video. I call it very short a TikTok, even though I don't have TikTok.
You're aging yourself.
Anyways, there's a new product that is a little container you can slide on your desk that is full of moss and grass. So when you're having a bad gaming session, you can touch some grass.
Let me put a ground wire on that. Then we're talking.
My God.
I saw that yesterday night. I was like, that is perfect.
Yeah, I mean, whatever floats their boat, right?
And genuinely, not a bad idea. Again, I will go back to my fish tank. If you have something natural and growing there that you can touch, I hate to sound hippy-dippy, but it's so placebo effect, and it works.
I could say the same thing when I'm building a computer, and I do it almost every month, right? And I love it because that's basically like my line of work. If I'm doing that stuff, again, for me, there's nothing natural about it. There's nothing natural about it. No. But plan and execution and all that planning goes into
But I'll also add the hippy dippy side. Those are unplugged in brand new electronics that have no charge. You are discharging into them. Hippy dippy side.
But you can see it's all placebo, right? At that point, right? Yeah, it's just in my head, right? I'm getting a dopamine release because I'm just doing that.
I'm curious. Put a multimeter on yourself before and after you do your next build.
You can measure your happiness. I hear Scientologists do that.
But I have a grounding thing on my wrist.
Take it off. I'm curious.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess you need to.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't want to discharge into those components.
Yeah. But I'm still
Okay,
curious.
I got it.
He doesn't like computers that much.
No. So many inputs.
Yep.
God. And then here's me is that I can't have fish. I've killed all my fish. I'm traumatized from the very first goldfish I ever had.
Yeah, we heard the story.
Exactly.
Because it was goldfish.
Anyway, and then I can't grow plants. I do not have a green thumb. They die.
Or are you so negative?
So negative. Yes. I've been told that. People want to put, e-meters on me, and they're like, oh no. So like, and then I think maybe I'm just a bad product for my environment because I'm always not like a sterile environment or a city environment, concrete glass and all that, but I just feel I was always in the city. So for me, what I look for, how's my reconnection? I don't know. Maybe I'm just a toxic person per se. I mean, I enjoy this right now. I enjoy the fresh air. This is this most.
Better than being in a container.
It is, and it smells good, and I feel vibrant and everything, and that's super helpful, and I think it'll definitely carry on me for a majority of my work week until someone comes across my path. But
So Monday afternoon.
yeah, probably like 3 hours in, 2 hours in, but then I still haven't found anything in between, and I don't know how to necessarily do that. And I think that's what I'm struggling with because identity-wise, and keeping and retaining that it's weird I don't, which is kind of funny because for some strange reason, my desktop and my computer, when you first turn it on, it always has that weird Microsoft splash thing.
Yeah.
Now it's showing me trees and
Nature.
mountains
Yeah.
and nature all of a sudden. And I'm like,
Yeah, I know why.
But I'll also add that the best time I've seen you relaxed is when we were building the crates for Acolyte. When you were building and touching lumber.
building?
Is the most like tuned in, relaxed version
That's
of
from
you
an
I've
outside
seen.
perspective.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he was task oriented. He was told what to do. He knew what he had to do.
Yeah.
Sounds like the military.
Lumber is still
Right? God.
lumber is still natural feeling,
probably hated it.
grounding.
That's true.
It smells fresh.
It's crazy though because if it rains, I don't care. It could be pouring down rain outside. I find myself going outside without a rain
That's
jacket,
the aromatherapy.
and I walk down the cedar aisle, and I'm like, okay, funny story.
So I'm just gonna throw this out there before this funny story.
Okay.
Try one of those Home Depot things with the kiddo. Go and build a fucking birdhouse.
Yeah.
See
yeah.
if that can be your in-between grounding.
Build
Go
things.
touch lumber. Do it with the kid. Memory moments. Building something, and you're touching fresh wood that smells amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sidebar.
There's a high percentage of doers in the world, so everything has to be hands-on.
No, that's true.
That could be your
That's
middle
true.
ground.
That I think everybody needs to go back to that. It's just physically touching stuff and doing stuff.
Creating.
Pound rocks.
Creating.
Everything is a hammer.
Yeah,
Well,
that's physics for you.
so
Okay.
walking through.
Okay, so funny story. It was one of our roughest seasons that we had at the yard, and this is like back at the very beginning. And I was in so much pain, still struggling with my TBI. By now, this is probably year 3 afterwards. So usually between years 3, like from 0, from it happening to year 5, you still have like residual effects, things with balance, regulatory your temperature and all that. And then I was just really struggling because like we're lifting heavy objects,
Yeah.
very bad rain. And the funny thing is being out in the elements, I didn't mind it. Just built differently, Yeah, I have a rain jacket on, and it's pelting down. Rain. We're due for like 60, 70 mils that day, but I'm still out there in the yard, doing my thing, and I loved
Yeah.
it. And then just smell of the cedar. Anyway, one of my buddies says, "Oh, you're really, dragging ass out there, and you're hurting." He's like, "Why don't you take some?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I got some Aleve in my bag." So I go back, grab some Aleve, blue pill, didn't realize it's the wrong one. I went out the previous weekend.
Oh.
So next thing I know it, I'm dropping a tablet of E. So I'm there, and then it wasn't a big one because I don't take like full Tylenols or anything like that.
Yeah.
I try to wean myself off that because like when coming from the military, you're taking 1,000 milligrams, 2,000 milligrams ibuprofen at a time. It takes a toll on the liver. And
Thanks,
all that.
Doc.
Thanks, Doc. So I decided, I'm just gonna take a little one. I didn't even look. I broke it, popped it in my mouth, went, and then all of a sudden I started feeling woozy. And the guy's like, "Your pupils are dilated," and I'm like, "Do you just stop and smell the lumber?" And it was rain, so you could smell everything. The smells everywhere, and it's really weird. And it's a strange skill set I've developed, but I can look at a piece of lumber and tell you just by smell and color if it's hemlock.
That's a
Douglas
nice
fir,
perk from working with wood.
spruce, and cedar, and it could be even aged.
Wow.
And like when lumber
Yeah.
gets old, it gets that gray and you can't even tell, and it's like, well, what is this, right? Or the copper alkaline from treated lumber evaporates. I can just look at it and I'm like, yeah, this is what that is. And like, it's a strange skill, and people are like, no way. And then they'll cut a piece off, or they'll use the belt sander and take it off and take it down to the lignins coming up, and they'll be like, yep, that's cedar, or yep, that's spruce, and everything, without even touching it. It's so funny. It's the strangest thing, all because of that incident.
Oh.
So, not saying that certain prescribables ground you, but sometimes it's a kick in the right direction. So if you're ever finding yourself not know what direction you're going in, see a doctor, see a therapist, touch nature. And I think that's the most, positive takeaway from all this. Yeah, and don't be afraid to look up various different, products to try to get you there, really.
Well, yeah,
I'm definitely going to check out that grounding mat. Also look into like magnet bracelets and stuff like that. I mean, that's something I'm really interested in.
Yeah, the copper ones. I never really believed in it, but there's other people that believe that they work. So, I mean, if it works for them, it's all just trial. Just try something and then see if it works, see if it doesn't, right?
Yeah, definitely.
That's pretty much
Definitely.
how I live my life now.
You missed my story. You're going to have to watch this video later.
Exactly. Gives me a reason.
All right. So in closing, I'd have to say that just try to find a way to, whether it's center your chi or to reset the batteries, mentally, spiritually, physically. Get out of the ho-hum drum that is your life.
That is your work. Yeah.
Yeah. Correct it somehow. Anyway.
Stop and smell the flowers. Have an ADD moment. Do something out of your regiment. If you're on your commute, stop and observe a flower bed. You haven't realized what's in there. Touch a leaf.
Yeah.
Do the little things that we don't think to do.
Yeah. Anything from you?
No, that's it. For the past 2 weeks, I've had arm issues. So I was like, man, it's just this when transiting. So I decided 2 weeks, just put the phone down, check for messages, and then put it away. And I've just, because it's such a beautiful day and running through the SkyTrain, just looking at everything passing by, you take for granted, wow, I've never seen that. Wow, that's actually new. Wow, oh wow, that's actually nice.
Yeah.
So I've been sitting in front of the SkyTrain just observing everything. And
It's a great ride.
It's a great ride. It's also just great just seeing not this on a screen, but enjoying the wider view and perspective of things.
Yeah.
Unplug.
Yeah. So just try it. Try it. You don't have to go full blown I'm gonna do an entire my lifetime not looking at my phone. Just try it. Yeah. That's it. Yeah.
I like it.
Well, this has been episode 3. Go touch grass from a Grunts Perspective. Hopefully you're still with us. We'll have some links down below for various grounding products.
And the sun lamp.
And a sun lamp.
I'll find one.
He'll find one. All right. Thanks, guys.